guys, how's it going? In today's video, we are going to take apart these heuchera planters that I put together a little over 2 months ago, and we're going to plant the plants out in the landscape. And it's a very easy thing to do, but there's been several messages from you guys wanting to see the process that I go through, so I thought this would be the perfect opportunity. Now, I knew I wanted to use these plants out in the landscape, and I oftentimes will plan containers in exactly that way. Like if I can use a perennial in a container and then use it again, you just save the budget. Like I didn't have to spend extra money on spring annuals that I would just toss, you know, getting ready for my summer annuals. And I'm really happy with how these have performed. I mean, it's kind of blustery today, but this is generally a full sun area. I mean, we're first thing in the morning right now, and I'll back up and show you them both here in a second. But it got really cold right after I planted them. In fact, I covered them for 2 nights right after I planted, and they suffered a little bit of leaf damage, but not bad. They need to be groomed horribly bad. You know, heucheras, they get dried up leaves around the bottom. But I have not touched these planters one time in the form of any kind of maintenance other than watering, which I find very awesome. I love to have containers that don't have to fuss with a whole lot. So let me show you the area. So here we are. Those are the Savannah urns from Unique Stone that we just got this spring. This one is in a little bit of shade. So I guess first thing in the morning, well, here comes the sun on it. Might be able to see detail a little bit more, but look at these plants. They are just gorgeous and blooming, but you can see what I was talking about in that the lower leaves are kind of tattered and dried up, but that's no big deal. We'll just remove all of those and then get them planted out and watered in, and they will be happy campers. The only thing you really need to know about this process is that plants do better, and you all know this, they do better when you plant them in the cool of the spring or about 6 to 8 weeks before your last frost in the fall. So if you're using perennials in containers and you want them to winter over in your garden, it's the least risk if you make sure there's a minimum of 6 weeks before that last frost, so that once you take them out of the container and plant them in the ground, they have a chance to root in before any hard weather comes your way. Now this time of year, like it's pretty cool out and the 10-day looks fantastic for us. So I know that planting these heucheras out will be less stressful on their system since it's not so hot. However, if you have a spring container that just like takes you into the middle of summer and then you kind of think like, I want to plant something different in there, all you have to make sure to do, it is more risky, as is all gardening, but you want to make sure just to keep that plant well watered. Put some Biotone starter fertilizer in that hole and then keep it well watered for the rest of the season. You want to treat it like a brand new planted thing, like anything that you plant brand new in your garden. And that's pretty much it. The whole act of like tearing apart a container like this, there's nothing much to it. We just separate all the plants. I've got my cart up here. I'm just going to kind of pack them all in there, and then we'll wheel around in the garden and put them in their spots. Okay. So this one right here, you might remember, I popped this one down in its can. I didn't even plant this one because I wanted it to sit higher than the rest, like that. So I knew when we came into water, I'd have to put the hose inside this can and then water around to get all the rest of them. So this is easy. You just pull this out. Look at all these. We'll clean these up in a second. And then we're just kind of left with all the root balls here. Super easy. There's one. Since they've only been in the container for a little over 2 months, they haven't had a really long time to root in, so they're fairly easy to take apart. Otherwise, I'd be taking a pruning saw to their root balls probably. So there you have it. First container is done, and you can see I just kind of pack these in together in the cart there. Their root balls are just right up next to each other, and they're fine for a second until we get them in the ground. Now, if you don't have a place in the ground, then you want to find whatever a draining container you can find. And we keep a lot of our old plant cans for this kind of thing. Like if you're not ready quite to plant them in the garden, or if you don't know where you want to put them, you want to get them potted right away and get them watered in, because you don't want the root balls to sit exposed to air. That is not good for them. And I know today, like I'm going to do this other container right now, and then we're going to plant them immediately and water them in. So we're good to go there. And then a quick note about the soil. I put in fresh soil when we put these plants out here this spring, and these plants have just kind of sat here. Like you saw, they didn't really root in. They haven't really utilized a lot of the stuff in the soil. So I will top them up with fresh, but I'm not going to replace the soil right there. And that's typically what I do. I start with fresh in the spring, and then I use that soil, topping it up every time I change out the plants for spring, summer, and fall, and I don't change it out until the following season. I also didn't get around to setting up drip. We ran the drip tube and connected it. No, it's not connected. I didn't set it up because honestly, in the spring, our containers don't need a lot of water, so this wasn't on top of the priority list. Here comes Aaron, he's mowing today. Oh, Aaron and Benjamin. Hey! Our lawn is growing so fast right now. It needs to be about this time of year is when we start mowing twice a week. So now I'm going to take apart this other container. I'll try to get maybe a little bit more of a backed up shot so you kind of have a better visual of what's going on, and then we'll go plant. So there you have it. Urns are cleaned out and ready for summer plants. And this cart is looking particularly beautiful, full of these heucheras. I wanted to run over the names real quick in case you missed the first video. The breeze is starting to pick up a little bit, but this one is called Silver Gumdrop, kind of purple leaves with a silver overlay, and the undersides of the leaves are beautiful too. Beautiful pinkish purple. This is a peachberry ice, and I really like this one because the blooms are creamy colored. And that's like in my wheelhouse. I like that creamy colored blooms. They look kind of foamy. And I don't feel the need to like pop those off. Some heucheras bloom really bright, and I don't particularly love that. But these have beautiful blooms too. This is the Black Pearl. Look at that. I've had really good luck with this one coming back really nicely every year. In fact, I'll show you in a minute. The blooms on this are kind of creamy with a slight blush of pink. We've got an apple twist heuchera right here, which this one, when it comes out in the spring, has some orangey colors. It also changes color a bit in the fall, really nice. This one's called Wild Rose. This is a favorite of many because for obvious reasons. It's a beautiful color. This is actually a heucherella called something. Hopscotch? I can't remember. Oh my goodness. So this is a mix between a heuchera and a tiarella, and this was the only one. I didn't have enough peachberry ice to make the whole arrangement. So I used this one because it was pretty similar, but these can't take quite as much sun as the rest of the heucheras. So anyway, that's what we've got right there. And I also feel like I should mention that the reason why I didn't leave the heucheras in here for the rest of the season, because they still looked really good, is the fact that this area up here is so brutally hot and so like full sun that the heucheras would not be happy here through our summer months. It just gets way too hot, over 100 for several weeks. So I think they'll be happier tucked into the garden where they're a little bit more protected. Oh my goodness. I'm surprised we don't have tumbleweeds rolling through right now. So this area is where I've got the rest of my black pearls. We're kind of up here by the front flower bed where we've got the limelight hydrangeas. It's looking particularly beautiful. Look at how beautiful that container is. This gets shaded in the late part of the afternoon, like this area starts to get shaded, and then so forth. But I wanted to plant one of the black pearls at least. See that little hole right there? So I've got white foxgloves coming up. There's another limelight hydrangea. There's Anna's red hellebores right there, and our new beautiful walkway. But I wanted to tuck the black pearls in here because they have these have been in the ground for years now, and they come back looking gorgeous. And I have some acarus called Ogon grass planted in between because I like that contrast of color. Okay, let's plant. Sorry about the weird lighting, but you can see where that one went. It filled in that gap perfectly. I do have one more black pearl that I'm going to tuck in right back here. Kind of by that downspout rain thing, whatever, directs the rainwater that we never get away from the house. So that's what I'm using to plant. Just my starter fertilizer there, making sure to water them all in really well. And that's basically what I'm going to be doing with all of them. Digging my hole, biotoning the hole, plant them, water them in. So we'll just go around the yard. I'll just set the camera up so you can see where they're all going, and that will be it. And I'll be really happy to get started on planting up those containers. I love those containers, they're so pretty. grabbed a third to finish off that trio. It looks amazing. Got a Jack of Hearts, no, Jack of Diamonds, Brunnera right there, a Hosta, and 5 Bobo hydrangeas. It'd be a really pretty area. Oh, and a hardy geranium, Johnson's Blue, I think. Just bolstered my display of peachberry ice, which you can tell the difference between the ones that come up in 100% shade and the ones that have had more sun. So let that be kind of a guide for you. I still think they're beautiful with this light kind of pale orange, but that's what these will probably turn into next season. And these are a little bit weak, so I'm hoping, I fertilized them, I'm hoping they start to fill in and look a little bit more lush. Okay, I just have the one heucherella left. I think since these are already in containers and I'm not sure where I want these to go, I'm gonna wait to plant these. And that's all that's left. Just the 2 apple twists, which I will water and put in the greenhouse, and they'll just sit there maybe for a week or so while I decide where they need to go. I've got a lot of other things to get in the ground. And that is it for this video. I'm really happy to have that done. I think the heucheras look really, really good where they ended up. And I had that extra wild rose and silver gumdrop, and I was hanging on to those in the greenhouse because I knew I wanted to put them like in little trios in the flower bed. And I think that where they are is just perfect because there's so much green around that having that little touch of color is really beautiful. So anyway, I hope this video was helpful to you to see just the whole thing from start to finish, tearing apart the planter, getting them in the ground, etc. And then that way too, you get to see where they went in the landscape because you'll be seeing them in tours and stuff coming up. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching today, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.